Kempire is brought to you by DMV. The Kempire After Dark live experience is returning after a sold-out show and an amazing tour across this country. And we're coming back to the DMV, Washington, D.C., specifically on Friday, January 24th. As you've seen with the recent Karen news, we're going to be talking about that and so much more. And I asked all of you to bring the tea that you know, because I know the DMV is small and you guys know a lot. And nothing comes out of the Kempire After Dark live experience. What happens there stays there. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you know, and I'm sure you're looking forward to hear what I found out. Get your tickets today for the Kempire After Dark live experience at Union Stage on Friday, January 24th. And then right after that, New York City. We're coming back to New York City for Black History Month on Friday, February 21st at the Green Room 42. So excited to bring our hot topics and Housewives conversation and so much more at the Green Room 42 on Friday, February 21st. More details on that, but don't forget, there is a live stream option only for the New York City show. So if you are international, or if you're around the country, or if you just can't make it, get your ticket today for the live stream link. All that information will be available in the description. I see you all very soon. You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. And we are back, guys. I put out the bat signal. You all have been saying, when is allegedly Stephanie coming back? Well, she is back because we have to talk about a lot. A lot of things are going on in pop culture news legally. We have to talk about Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger. We got to talk about Luigi Maggioni. We got to talk about Jay-Z, Diddy, Tony Buzbee. And why does he still have a law license? Anyways, we got to talk about everything. But welcome back to the show, Stephanie St. Aubyn. Stephanie!
Kempire, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Bring me back. I love all of the decor, the holiday decor. I hope everyone's staying warm.
Oh my gosh, we got our first snow here in New York City.
Yes.
I loved it. Especially when I don't have to shovel.
It makes me feel better when it's cold in New York now, because it was frightening when I was like, it's 60 degrees.
Yeah. What's going on? And plus, I need my body and my mind to get ready for the cold. I don't need to play with my mind.
You don't need hopefulness when you're in a hopeless, cold place.
A hopeless place. Well, as I said before, we have been putting out the bat signal. I know you don't get to see all the videos that we do, but every time there's a legal situation, I'm like, I got to get Stephanie back here. We did multiple videos talking about Jay-Z, talking about your favorite mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. I'm being facetious, y'all. She really is
wasting our taxpayer money, escorting the alleged assassin in that manner with our taxpayer money. Like, he's already chained, he's already cuffed. Like, do we need 20 members of NYPD plus Eric Adams in that coat with his hands in the coat?
He needs to be in that coat. All right. We're going to talk a lot. We have a lot to catch up on, guys. But as always, don't forget to follow our guests, subscribe to our guests. All of Stephanie's information will be available in the description, along with information about myself and the Kempire After Dark live experience coming to Washington, D.C., and of course, New York City at the top of the year. Make sure you check out the description for everything. Stephanie,
yes.
Speaking of Washington, D.C., we have to talk about Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger. Her recent conviction for multiple charges, 5 out of the 6 charges.
Yes.
One of the biggest questions that we had in regard, first of all, I want to know your opinion, because I know you saw the video footage, the full 30 minutes of, her arrest, her being Thomas Jefferson's concubine. I need to know your
owning a plantation.
No.
The reincarnation of Sally Hemings, maybe.
And the wig sliding back.
Oh no.
Just bad.
I hate to see it. Unfortunate. Yeah. I think everyone's biggest question is, why, with that level of video evidence, would she have the hubris, to be honest, to go forward with the case? Yeah. And the answer is, unfortunately, it's the ego, it's the hubris. And which is why I'm always glad that I don't take clients, because I'm pretty sure the lawyer told her, hey, you're going to lose. This is going to be embarrassing. You have to enter that evidence into court. So she knew the video existed. The lawyer knew the video existed. I'm sure the lawyer tried to talk her down from it, and she was like, no.
They tried to have the video, the body cam footage suppressed, and that was denied.
which there would be no logical reason for the body cam footage to be suppressed. Like, these are multiple claims of driving under the influence. So the charges actually were negligent driving, failure to control speed to avoid a collision, failure to notify authorities of an address change, driving under the influence, and then she was acquitted of reckless driving. So you would need the body cam footage to show the driving under the influence part, the negligent driving, the failure to control speed, to avoid a collision because she hit a tree, unfortunately. And then, so my initial thought is that she decided for some odd reason that maybe that she would win in court, even though I'm almost positive the lawyer told her there's no way.
Because a lot of people have been saying, the lawyer came out with a statement to People Magazine saying that we're going to, we respect the court's decision. We're also going to respect the fact that Karen might want to appeal this.
So the lawyer is, and that's the unfortunate thing when you have a client, you're at the will of the client. So you can tell them something. And if they're like, well, I pay you, you need to do what I said. Either you continue to take their money and you do what they say. And then you sit there like, well, the lawyer's not going to publicly say, I told Karen that this was a bad idea, because they're not going to throw their paycheck under the bus. They're going to continue and advocate in the way that she would like to be advocated for.
Yeah. Because I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people are throwing them under the bus. Like, who's her attorney? Who's her attorney?
Oh, yeah. I would be surprised if the lawyer thought that they would get her off on any of the charges. The only reason I think that she was found not guilty for reckless driving is because I'm going to pull up the statute here really quick. So this is the reckless driving under Maryland law. So it's section 21-901.1. To show reckless driving, you have to prove, 1, that the person drives a motor vehicle. Okay, proven. She was driving a vehicle. 2, with blatant or shameless disregard for the safety and health of other people or property, or in a manner that indicates such outrageous disregard for the safety of others or property. And essentially, most people would argue and say, well, hey, if you're drinking and driving, that is a blatant disregard. However, I'm sure the one thing the lawyer was able to do was argue and say there should be a certain level of intent, like you're intentionally just driving around like you're in GTA. And if you are inebriated to the level that we clearly saw that she was inebriated, there is no intent. There's no mind state there. There's just, I'm, driving late at night. She's probably argued that like, oh, well, nobody was around. I wasn't trying to hurt anybody. I was just going home. I thought everything was fine. So that is probably the only reason why she was not convicted of reckless driving. But the bar for negligent driving is a lot lower, which is why she got convicted of that.
Because that was one of my big questions that I had when we went through the charges. So she's going to be sentenced on January 29th. I believe that's going to be out in the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. I don't know if you've been watching Potomac this season, but she has shown no accountability for this at all.
And she downplayed it, acted like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
As if she did not hit an actual tree. The car was on fire at one point, because you hear the paramedics saying the car's on fire and she might be leaning against said car that was on fire.
Very, very sad. And again, this is a reminder to anyone, don't drink and drive.
No.
Don't drink and drive.
Uber, call family, call friends, because you can hurt yourself, but even worse than that, you can hurt somebody else.
Especially when you see how inebriated she was. So inebriated. Speaking of her sentencing coming up on January 29th, they're saying that she faces up to at least 2 years in jail. What do you think, based on your legal expertise, what she will end up getting?
DUI, when there is not an accident involving another person, usually people will get lesser sentences than that. However, it is her second DUI. Yeah. So the first one is where you're usually like, hey, you do realize I do this. Don't do this again. To which she claims that the first DUI she received, she wasn't driving the vehicle. She was parked in a parking lot. It wasn't moving. This one, she's clearly caught actively driving the car. Yeah. She might go to county, like a very low minimum for 30 days. It might happen. Or she might get probation. I would argue like if she decides to, acknowledge her wrongdoing and state, I'm extremely sorry, I'm going to rehab, etc., she might be able to get probation. I think if she's adamant on being like, I didn't do anything wrong, it's really not that serious. Especially now, January 29th, Unfortunately, our new president is getting sworn in January 20th. We're in a very different set of United States post January 20th.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure a judge is going to be like, oh, yes, let's continue with leniency.
Yeah.
At that time. It also depends on the judge you get.
I mean, here's the thing. She also decided to take this to a jury trial. Well, that
Which is
also
objectively wild, because a judge could view this after seeing the evidence, because the judge is the one in charge of sentencing, and say, you not only clearly saw the video, you're wasting taxpayer dollars, you're wasting my time, you're not learning your lesson, and then give her some time. At the very least, she's getting probation.
Do you think she was shocked that the body cam footage was released to the public? Is that normal that we have access to this information?
You know what's interesting? I think she's shocked because if you see how the police interact with her, she's sitting in the front of the police car. She's not in the back of the police car. She received a lot of special treatment. You could really argue that the police treated her with a level of respect and kindness that they should really treat everyone.
Yeah.
There's no point of like roughing up, the people that are inebriated. It might as well treat them with kindness. They're not in their mind anyway, the way that they generally treat the public. So I think that she probably was taken aback. I think it's probably like her ego was very bruised. I think it depends on what state you're in, whether or not they give access to body cam footage.
Okay.
But in recent years, we've had a lot more public requests for body cam footage to ensure that the police are not, being overzealous, that they're not abusing their power, etc. So I think it works either way.
I mean, do you think that she really will appeal this? And do you think it's smart to appeal this?
Okay, I think it's easier to answer the second part of that question. It would not be smart to appeal. I would be flabbergasted.
Especially after everyone, we have to remember, she is a reality TV star. Mm-hmm. So this is, bigger than any other DUI case, exactly. out there. And the fact that this is everywhere, first of all, I don't think she should appeal. I think she should have from the beginning. Because Ray Huger was there at the crash, so he saw how inebriated she was.
He also said she had a few beers.
Yeah.
Ugh. So he's corroborating the fact that you drank.
And
so what the appeal would, usually when people appeal, they appeal based on like, oh, I was treated improperly, I was discriminated against, there's some type of technicality. None of that exists here. She was treated very well. There's enough body cam footage of her, saying whatever that she wanted to the police officer.
Yeah.
And them still trying to help her up and, talk to her, etc. So there's none of that. You could argue special treatment going on because she is somebody of wealth and status. So there are no technicalities. There's nothing to really appeal on.
Yeah. Well, there's a rumor, according to Page 6, that Housewives of Potomac producers and the network are not sure of Karen's return. Also, we don't know what's going to happen when it comes to her sentencing. So usually those decisions for casting happen after the reunion. The reunion is going to happen until after the holidays. And I'm pretty sure before her sentencing. But here we are.
I think they'll bring her back. I think they'll bring her back because they're going to want to see the ratings of the other women being like, look what you did. Look at you lied this whole time. Because, that cast has a very, to put it kindly, like toxic relationship with each other. And so I'm sure the reunion is going to be quite theatrical.
My thing is too, I think people are taking lightly what this could have been for Karen.
Sure.
She clearly, based off the body cam footage, we can't deny that. We've all seen it at this particular point. Should she return in any capacity to Potomac after you committed a crime? Doesn't that break the network's code of conduct too?
Oh, does Bravo have a code of conduct?
They do. That's what allegedly they used against Kenya Moore. And remember, they updated that when all this litigation from former reality stars. So they updated it and, dispersed that to the third party production companies. So there is a code of conduct, because we have to remember that this is still a place of work. They might not treat it that way. It's still a place of work.
Are they aware of this?
They didn't get the memo.
Yeah, I think one of the things, because I was trying to question, like, why would you, knowing that the footage has happened, even if she forgot she said or did any of those things, the level of hangover you'd have after being that inebriated, you would ask him questions like, what happened? Oh, we went to the jail? Oh, I went.
Or, there have been, rumors, on the show where they've said that Karen drinks a lot. I'm thinking if you're drinking at that level, what is your hangover really like? I don't know. I don't drink, but I've heard when you drink a lot, you don't.
Oh, you just stabilize. Oh.
Yeah. It's normal to you.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But Ray was sober. I felt bad for Ray in that video. Oh,
yeah.
But he was sober. But I don't think he controls Karen. I think, like you said, she told her lawyer, she told Ray, we're going to fight
she decided she wanted to fight it. And I think one of the things, based on a few different articles that I've read as to why maybe she thought she knew better than the lawyer was, in 2017, unfortunately, both of her parents passed away.
Yeah.
And this occurs after their passing. So I think she wanted the lawyer to basically say well, I was very emotional and I wasn't necessarily drunk. I was just emotional. And I went to a dinner at friends and, I was emotional after the dinner, etc. But being emotional is not an excuse to drive intoxicated, because you can, again, hurt yourself or even worse, hurt other people. But I don't think Bravo would get rid of her for that, to be honest, because
they happened before for other people.
Yeah. And the root of what continues on with the Bravo shows is Bravo has created a whole universe of chaos. So you have Teresa Giudice and Joe Giudice with the original scam. Then you have Jen from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City pleading guilty to scamming elderly people. You have so much levels of commotion that I don't think Bravo is going to be like, oh, well, she hit the tree.
Yeah. Unless she decides to, what they always do in Hollywood. I'm going to rehab.
Yeah.
Look.
I think she should go get some help.
Without a doubt. One last question in regards to the Karen Huger DUI convictions. The body cam footage, it was made public to us. Was this given to her legal team and to parents? Okay. So I just wanted to...
Yes. And I saw people asking that too. They're like, why would her lawyer allow this? Yeah. The lawyer saw it, which is why the lawyer wrote the motion to suppress the evidence. The lawyer was like, oh, yeah, people see this. But basically during discovery, when you have a civil or criminal trial, all of the evidence is given to both parties. You have to submit it. And I know because Law and Order, what's the other one that I used to watch? How to Get Away with Murder, etc. You always see somebody running last minute. Here's just new evidence. It doesn't work like that. In real life, everything is submitted beforehand. Everyone sees everything beforehand. And then you can use both the law and the facts. And then you use that evidence most favorable towards whatever side you're on.
And this is what we talked about recently when we were talking about Diddy and them being very ambitious with the May 5th date, because there's so much evidence that they have to review from Diddy's side. So, and that was part of his argument in getting out of jail. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a perfect segue to talk about our next story. Luigi Maggioni is also at the Brooklyn Detention Center.
It's a popular place these days.
Luigi Maggioni, let's talk about that, because first of all, the way that he's been sexualized and made into this hero after taking the life of this United Healthcare CEO. I need to know first of all, you can definitely share your opinion, then we can get to the legal part of this. What was your reaction to the love story that is turned into this situation?
It's really interesting because I would say one of the most interesting aspects of this is rightfully people voicing, look, my grandmother was denied, my mother, my aunt, myself, etc. So-and-so, my family died because we're getting denied from healthcare that we're paying from. I think that is positive, and people saying wait, we're all getting screwed. We're all paying into this. We need to change our healthcare system. No. That part I would say is positive. The interesting part is, though, with all of that going on, America has always shown that not only do they like the idea of a hero, they like the idea of a white hero. And particularly one with abs. So people have then, sexualized him, done all of these things. And that is in a certain category where we could put that. The reason why I think people have partially done it is people feel so disenfranchised from the healthcare system. People don't feel like they can fight the healthcare system by themselves.
No.
And people have tried. I unfortunately have family members with various debilitating health issues. And as a lawyer, having to literally be in the hospital and you're at the mercy of your healthcare provider, I have just been lucky enough where a lot of my family know we're Jamaican, we're nurses. So our other family, making sure we're going to a hospital where it's like, okay, well, we know all these other nurses, please, like, can you help my family member get the best care? And even if the nursing staff and the doctors are willing to help you, the minute you get denied by insurance, they're like, well, we literally cannot do anything for you. And that is extremely frustrating. And I think that pushes people to a place where people are like, okay, well, is this going to be the wake-up call to fix the healthcare system now? Or the response from corporate America was like, oh, just take down the pages where the CEO's faces. And I'm like, that shouldn't be the response.
Yeah. Yeah. Recently, we saw that he was transferred from Pennsylvania to New York to face, the charges against him. We saw your favorite guy, who's also facing his own charges, Mayor Adams.
He's pretending like he doesn't have charges, which is wild.
Yeah. What was your reaction to this perp walk? I was really shocked because I would have thought they would have done something like this with Diddy, but they didn't.
My reaction to the perp walk was, I do believe the people that do have the power and the actual money and the access are not reading the room. They think somehow that they are going to frighten. I think the people in power are frightened by the general public's reaction. The general public's reaction of being like, cheering it on, etc. And instead of reading the room of people are so fed up, they are now like, oh, we have to show you this is a criminal because y'all don't like criminals. People do not view him as a criminal. So not only was that a waste of time, second of all, that's a waste of our taxpayer dollars. As New York City residents, I was annoyed. I was like, hey, I'm counting up at least 20 police. Don't y'all have other things to do? Don't y'all have crime to solve? Don't y'all have kittens to get out of trees? Something like, between them recklessly shooting people in the subway, which happened 2 months ago, and unfortunately somebody was killed who was simply going to work. The MTA was chasing this man over the MTA fare, $2.90, and then decided to shoot on the platform. The officer that did that killed a police officer as well as hit a bystander who was simply on the train going to work. Instead of focusing on like, hey, we need an investigation into that. Like, what are y'all doing? They are now doing perp walks with Eric Adams walking behind as if he's the mayor of Gotham. So my initial reaction was, this is a giant waste of my money.
Yeah. A waste of time. And I agree with you. I recently saw this lovely Black woman who she worked in the world of public relations for a long time. She said exactly what you're saying, is that they wanted to tell the world, because they've romanticized what he did so far, that don't think about trying to do this yourself.
They want to make him an example and they want to use him as an example. But I don't think that they realize that instead of making him an example of like, hey, don't take the law into your hand, don't be a vigilante, they might actually make him a martyr. Because the charges that he's receiving are, I would say, unprecedented and both astonishing. So if we want to talk about that as well.
Yes, please.
So I have on here, let me pull this up. Actually, is it on here? One of his charges is terrorism, which people, including myself, have been like very shocked by.
Okay.
So this is, according to the Manhattan DA, charged with murder in the first degree, which is very hard to prove murder in the first degree. Like usually they just charge with murder in the second degree. So that is a departure. Murder in the second degree, criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, criminal possession of a weapon in the third degree, criminal possession of a weapon in the fourth degree, criminal possession of a forged instrument in the second degree. And then where is the terrorism charge? Because he also has charges not only in Manhattan, he has charges in Pennsylvania as well. So that might be, let me double check what venue, what jurisdiction he has the charge for terrorism. And then we can pull that up because that is the one that people are rightfully questioning. Like, why is there a terrorism charge?
Yeah, I saw that and I was like,
And that's why I said, instead of trying to, say like, hey, this is, deter people from vigilantism, a terrorism charge is instead making people wonder, like, I think maybe they're turning him into a martyr.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see.
Guys, if you're just joining us, don't forget to like the video. It's easy and it's free. Don't forget you can also hear our live recaps and stories and interviews and conversations on the Kempire podcast. And more information on Stephanie St. Aubyn on her YouTube channel and more will be available in the description. All right.
Yeah. All right. So essentially what they are saying, which I'm sure afterwards we can put that as well. Essentially what is happening is the terror allegation, got added after the original indictment. Mm-hmm. That's why it wasn't on there. So from AP News, he is charged, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Braggs, who's getting charged with terrorism here in New York, said Thompson's death on a Midtown Manhattan street was a killing that was intended to evoke terror. And we've seen that reaction. So that is why they have now added a terrorism charge. And legally, that doesn't make any sense because unfortunately, we live in the country of mass school shootings because our Congress refuses to do anything about gun control, and never has any school shooter ever been charged with terrorism. And their whole goal is to terrorize people. And a lot of people keep bringing up that as well. Also, based on what he's being charged with now, he is eligible for the death penalty, which is very wild, particularly in New York, which is a much more progressive state. Yeah. Where you don't see that punishment being even spoken about with people. Yeah. So I do think if they go through with this plan of action, they would instead memorialize him as a martyr.
Wow.
Which is going to be fascinating to see.
Wow. The other news, as I mentioned before, is that Luigi and Diddy are in the same detention center. How do they make these decisions? Why? I've heard that this detention center has been in the news for horrendous conditions. So, and I think that's what it's based on. Maybe they want to do some psychological intimidation. Maybe that's why they're putting them in there. I would say Diddy deserves that then and should be in there. It will be interesting. One of the interesting things in the Luigi Maggioni case, the lawyer he hired, she is the former DA. And she's married to Diddy's attorney.
Yes, and she's very well connected. So he also comes from a well-to-do background. So he has the money to afford this as well. So I do think this is going to be a very fascinating case, as well as maybe set a few different precedents and might be a precursor or a matchstick to what people have been talking about for a long time, which is when will the general populace, come together and realize hey, we can come together and push for changes that we want. Because why should a small amount of people be denying so many people's claims?
Yeah. I mean, it's horrendous. The healthcare system, especially coming back from London, the healthcare system here in the States is, the richest country in the world, is ridiculous. But I find it to be interesting because people say that he comes from money, but they also say some of his motive was because of his mother's health issues, his own health issues. And so I'm just thinking, if you have money, you should be able to afford anything, right?
I think that juxtaposition of that question is interesting because that's what I was thinking as well. And I think it highlights how ridiculous our healthcare system is, that even somebody with more money than we have, a modicum of money, his parents own a few different nursing homes, even they are getting denied for claims and can't afford it.
Wow.
Is how expensive it is. Or they're just simply fed up with it, which is very interesting. And one of the things that should be noted in New York, it usually happens at least biannually. I haven't seen a video of it happening this year, which is good. Hopefully they've actually stopped this practice. But in New York City, almost every year for the past 10 years that I've lived here, there's always a video of somebody who's gone into the hospital who does not have insurance, and they've suffered some type of very serious medical issue. And because they don't have insurance, they get put on the street. And this year, I don't believe that we've seen one. Correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody has seen one. And it usually is a big uproar in the city of how are you putting people outside in the cold just because they don't have health insurance, which is subjectively wild because we pay so much in taxes that we should all be able to have decent care to make sure that make sure that I'm all right. And if anything, you could put me in the hallway, but why are you going to put me in the street?
Yeah. I mean, it's the saddest thing, and we should be ashamed of ourselves as the most powerful and richest country in the world that we haven't figured this out. But that's greed.
Exactly. It's like we could figure it out, but the certain small section of people are like, why would we figure this out?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, United Healthcare, the allegations have come out that they were using some type of algorithm to systemically deny people from their claims. So it wasn't even a person. So a lot of people were alleging that. So various organizations are now doing third-party investigations into United Healthcare.
Wow. Ooh. So maybe this will spark change.
One can be optimistic. I'm trying to say everything in a manner that will not get me an FBI agent assigned.
Oh, I don't need that trouble either, especially around the holidays. But speaking of the healthcare system, it brings me to the thought, and I know you guys have been wanting us to do a separate video on Wendy Williams, and we promise you in 2025 we will. Stephanie St. Aubyn from Allegedly Stephanie here on YouTube is with us. I have to talk a little bit though about Wendy Williams. I just want to show you this video. Recent video of Wendy Williams in Miami for her son's college graduation. And this is from a podcast that's based there in Miami. Take a look at this.
You wear hats?
If it fits.
Yeah, well, that's why I have it like that.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So that's it's my goal.
Okay, I'll take it.
That's my goal.
I'll take it.
This
It looks like Starbucks.
Right?
Starbucks logo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I got that for you. That's gonna fit, isn't it?
No, it's not fit.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I got something for everybody.
Right.
I got something for Bella. And I guess Panera had like this little thing that I don't know. Anything in there? Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, it's not a pretty.
Nice and black.
So that is from the We in Miami podcast. They got this exclusive footage. Wendy Williams was in Miami for her son's college graduation, and those photos came out, and video footage of her came out. So a lot of fans are saying, well, recently in court documents, Sabrina Morrissey, Wendy's legal guardian, has said that she is, quote, permanently incapacitated. She doesn't look permanently incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on this crazy situation? First of all, Wendy Williams in a guardianship that's not, her family is not the guardian of her.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently her sister was willing to do it, and then all of a sudden radio silence in regards to her being a part of that. What's your thoughts though? Because the information came out that she was, quote, permanently incapacitated in court documents.
Yes. So Wendy Williams, unfortunately, was placed in a guardianship in 2022. And the reason why the timeline is important is because at this same time, Wells Fargo, who's been under fire rightfully numerous times, that Wells Fargo is very anti-Black, that Wells Fargo had to settle an entire case where they were allegedly taking money from their clients. Wells Fargo put a hold on all of Wendy Williams' accounts and stated she cannot manage her money. She needs help. And Wells Fargo then instituted, with the court's help, a conservatorship over Wendy Williams. When, similarly, I would say Britney Spears had the most publicly known conservatorship. In the Britney Spears case, what happened is her father allegedly got a doctor to state hey, Britney is not okay. She's incapacitated, etc. Yet when she was incapacitated, according to her father, who was her conservator, he was trotting her out, having her do residencies, having her do shows, incapacitated albums, entire things, and incapacitated under the legal sense is basically designed, which I do not agree. The conservatorship laws whatsoever, they are very old and antiquated, and because usually they're used against people who are incapacitated and do need a family member to, say hey, my grandma needs a new roof. She's unable to do it. I'm doing it for her, etc. And then the dark side of it is people preying on people who are very wealthy. And I think there's a gendered element there. It happens more often to women than to men, as we've seen in the public eye as well. Incapacitated in the legal sense is this person can do things, they're functional, but they cannot think for themselves, and I need to be in charge of them to help lead them along the way. So what Wendy Williams, conservator, has basically been arguing in the court is, she's permanently incapacitated. She has early onset dementia. She cannot think for herself and do these things, so I have to do the administrative work for her. She can't do any of that. Do I agree with that, or do I believe that? No. I think Wendy Williams previously she needed rehabilitation, she needed help, but she was able to manage her own money, etc. In my opinion, her case is extremely alarming. The fact that a third party, a bank, a corporation, was able to swoop in and take control over hundreds of millions of dollars, it's estimated, and nobody has been able to properly advocate for her to get a review of what exactly is going on and why have we set this precedent, why is this allowed? And yes, maybe she does need care, and I do think she needs care, but needing care is very different from someone taking over all of your money, all of your day-to-day, and not making any decisions. I'm not allowing you to make decisions. Sabrina Morrissey now is currently in a battle with A&E about Wendy Williams' documentary, because basically the documentary is highlighting there are issues with this conservatorship. They want A&E to redact portions of the documentary.
Look, and this is why I wanted you here to explain that, because I know a lot of people see Wendy Williams and they think, oh, that's not permanently incapacitated.
Yeah, which I would agree with.
Legally, remember, that's a legal version of what we saw in court documents versus what we think that means. Mm-hmm. But like I said before, I don't trust Sabrina Morrissey. She's been accused of overreaching when it comes to guardianship in the past. And just the way that things have been handled so far with Wendy, and the fact that Wendy's family are more than willing to be her guardian, and should be her guardian, and the fact that they were pushed out, I find pretty disturbing. One of the questions, and I'm not sure if you have any background on this, because we are going to do a separate video talking about this, and maybe it's something you can do some research on, is the fact that they said in the documentary that every year the guardianship is reviewed. And so I expected that this year something would happen.
It's reviewed by the same court that already put you in the guardianship, which is why I don't agree with the guardianship law. So just to bring up the case that everyone's very familiar with, Britney Spears' conservatorship was reviewed every year. And every year, Jamie Spears look, I took her to the doctor and the doctor said she still needs help because he allegedly paid off the doctor. Wow. So that review, unfortunately, if Sabrina Morrissey is coming with paperwork and saying the doctor said she's still unwell, as you can see, etc., which is why once you're put into the conservatorship, it is so hard to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Conservatorships, I would say, are a 21st century version of, in the 20th century, 19th century, the United States, as well as Europe, had a huge practice of where they would deem women to be hysteric. They would deem you that you were hysterical, and they would put you into an institution and institutionalize you. And husbands, unfortunately, would do that to their wives if they wanted to marry somebody else. People would do that to their mother and take their money, etc. The guardianship era that we're in extends from that a little bit in terms of the way the law is. So while it should be up for a review, one of the things is this is also in the courts that view guardianship are courts that are separate and function separate from, your regular district court as well. So it's kind of exists in its own world where there is not a lot of outside oversight.
Wow. And look,
which is frightening, to your point. The entire thing is very frightening.
Yeah. Sabrina Morrissey is suing A&E Network, Lifetime, for the Where's Wendy Williams documentary. That's why there's a battle right now. Sidebar, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but in this lawsuit, it mentions that she's suing Lifetime A&E for the lifetime care of Wendy Williams. And I said, why would Wendy need that if she has millions of dollars? I found that to be suspicious. As an attorney, do you find that suspicious?
I find it extremely suspicious.
Oh, okay.
Because again, Wendy has her own money to take care of herself.
Yeah. And it's understandable. They're saying that A&E did not pay Wendy what she should have gotten, and that she should have never signed any sort of contract, which can be very true. But I just found that particular part so interesting. Why would she need to sue them for lifetime of care?
Yeah. To maintain control, unfortunately, it would seem to me.
Yeah. Like I said, we're going to do a separate video talking about Wendy Williams. So there's just so much to unpack. I mean, her ex-husband is suing the Guardian as well. There's just so many people.
Kevin is such a vile human being.
I just don't understand why he doesn't have money. He was her manager for years and an executive producer of the Wendy Williams show. There's a lot of money in daytime talk. So if Wendy made 50, 60, how many millions of dollars, he had a percentage of that. I just don't know
Yeah.
what you do with that money.
It went to the woman that he bought the house for down the street.
Oh, Sharina Hudson.
And clearly neither of them have any financial sense, and now the money is gone.
Wow. He can't pay for his own medical bills. He can't pay his HOH fees. All right.
I have no pity for him.
And I just feel like when you look at the amount of people that are around Wendy that do not mean her well, it's scary. It's a scary situation.
It's very sad. It's very sad.
Speaking of a sad situation, we briefly talked a little bit about Diddy, guys. If you missed it, we've done multiple videos on Diddy and Eric Adams and Naomi Campbell. Yeah, go. I'll link them in the description.
About Naomi.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's simmered since then. But we have to talk about Jay-Z. So Jay-Z has been thrown into this world. Look, people have already thrown his name around. However, now legally, a lawsuit that was filed back in October has now been updated and has added Jay-Z. I need to know your reaction to the back and forth between Jay-Z, Sean Carter, and the attorney that's representing over 120 something Diddy alleged victims, Tony Buzbee. What is your reaction to the back and forth? Like this back and forth has become
it's a life of its own, the back and forth.
I mean, look, we have not Diddy. We have Jay-Z posting this on the Rock Nation. I really feel like this is Jay-Z himself.
Oh yeah, he's writing this because there's he and the first thing that he posted. Well, let me back up. The first thing is there are so many things true at once between the two of them that it is hard to give an opinion that appears to be objective, because on one hand, you're dealing with an overzealous, I would say somewhat sleazy in tactics lawyer who crassly put out a 1-800 call in, which I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
However, who has shown that at least some of the clientele does have provable claims. Mm-hmm. So there's the one hand. So you're like, this is a messy person who is likely taking some of these clients for a ride. Maybe some of the clients are taking him for a ride. Maybe they're all foolishness is abounding. Then on the other hand, you have Jay-Z, instead of using his very expensive lawyers that he paid for in his PR firm, deciding that he is going to take to social media himself, calling people conspiracy theorists and fake physics is what he wrote in that one. Yeah. And I was like, what's a fake like a physicist? Like what? Maybe he meant psychics, but also like, what does that mean? Who knows?
Sloan Bella. He was coming for Sloan Bella.
Oh, I was like, what is that? But also he spelled the word physics. So I was like, This is why you should let your PR team do their job. The more he goes back and forth, the more questions I have. Because why not just ignore this person? They are now suing each other. And it has now snowballed to where they have made it about the two of them than about the actual claims that have come out, have proven that the alleged victim has stated like, oh, there are inconsistencies. I made some mistakes. It's been 24 years. Having a lawyer who also acts this way also, unfortunately, does cast the claims in a certain light as well.
Yeah.
And then you have Jay-Z continuing to I don't exactly know what he's doing. And then you have his lawyer saying him and Diddy aren't friends, which we all know to be a lie. So
I'm just giving you some of the photos.
Thank you. Because
just some of the photos.
People are then, they're not friends, they're business partners. Actually, they don't have businesses together. They are dear friends and have been dear friends for 30 years. Like, let's not rewrite history. And so I think with all this, so many things are true at once. I'm curious as to why it has become this level of circus.
Well, we found out after they updated the law. So we found out that there was that story that came out that Tony Busby was being sued by an unnamed celebrity. We found out that was Jay-Z.
Yes.
Why do you think that Jay-Z then filed the lawsuit without his name initially?
Because I don't think he wanted to be anywhere near the case, but it's interesting because then his lawyer is basically the current woman that is suing him is listed as Jane Doe. So his lawyer does not want her to proceed anonymously. Yeah. And I'm like, well, your client was already proceeding anonymously and all this could have been avoided if y'all had went through private mediation. None of this would have came out, actually. It's interesting because that extortion complaint is not written very well. And I think it's not written very well because it was never meant for any of us to actually see it. And now it's come out because now once Buzbee added Jay-Z to a complaint that already included Diddy's name, once he added that, then Jay-Z's like, see, you're taking money from me. So then to clap back, then Buzbee was like, well, actually, you have been pretending and hiding behind this from a whole month. And all of this back and forth makes me question all of them, to be honest.
Like,
the more documents I read, the more I question all of them.
Yeah, there's no one innocent here. The situation with Jay-Z and him not knowing, him not being friendly with Diddy, and the attorney said this. Jay-Z didn't say this
verbatim. The attorney said this verbatim,
yeah. Why do you think the attorney said that? I mean, it's almost obvious that he doesn't want any association, but was it smart?
I don't think it was smart, to be honest. I have no idea why, because that statement from his attorney, from Quinn Emanuel, came out after the inconsistencies were aired on NBC.
Yes.
And the alleged victim came forward and said, yes, there are inconsistencies. If I was the attorney, which I would never represent any of these people, I would have left it at that and then went back to my job of like, okay, what is the next part? Instead of having a press run that no one asked you for, and then saying something that the general public knows is a lie.
Yeah.
We've grown up seeing pictures of the two of them. We've seen interviews of the two of them. They've spoke about each other like very kindly, very fondly. Like, there's no point to say that.
Do you think, and I point this out because I think it's important to talk about how close their friendship was. Anytime that there was a Rock Nation brunch for the Grammys, Diddy was always in attendance.
Every time.
And then they canceled it earlier this year with no explanation. And this was after Cassie's lawsuit.
Yes, the explanation was that Jay-Z and Beyonce had to attend like a tribute ceremony to Jay-Z. Allegedly, that's the explanation. But I agree. No actual explanation. I agree with you.
Okay.
Right, exactly. When you say it out loud, you're like, okay, guys. And we were all born yesterday.
Especially when you've seen at the multiple Rock Nation brunches for the Grammys, Diddy was always in attendance. Diddy was always cheering with him at this. Like, they were close. I think Diddy said in an interview, that's the only person that can call me Sean. They're definitely, I feel like it was a misstep in his attorney's response. You can downplay it as my client has no involvement. Look at me playing the attorney. My client has no involvement in what Diddy's being accused of. Yes, they've had a relationship over the years, but he's also had a relationship with other people. That doesn't mean anything.
R. Kelly. Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn. Oh, God.
People don't want that one brought up either. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there's 2 albums and a whole tour.
Yeah, between R. Kelly and Jay-Z, for those that may have, because we have some people that don't even know that. So I think it's important to add that in there. Yeah, so Jay-Z and R. Kelly have had an association. He's had an association with some folks that are questionable. Mm-hmm. What do you think will be next? Do you think more accusers will come forward against Jay-Z? Because that seems to be the trend with Diddy.
That's a good question. I think it's possible. I am curious because this has taken such a turn that I don't think anybody foresaw.
Yeah.
That this basically like social media fueled, like, well, I'll pay the filing fee. I'll pay the filing fee. Because you can file a lawsuit against anyone. You just pay the filing fee.
Yeah.
I think that will continue to spiral because they're now both suing each other.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have more waste of filing fees. I think eventually maybe all of these cases the additional ones get dismissed, like where they're just suing each other over random things.
Yeah.
I do think in the original underlying allegation in that case, the alleged victim, most likely the judge, is going to have them state their identity.
Okay.
At least to Jay-Z and his team, which is likely to happen. I don't know if publicly they will have to do that, but at least to Jay-Z and his team, I think that is likely to happen. And then we'll see where that goes. But
and Jay-Z's trying to have this particular lawsuit where he's named dismissed.
So that's what publicly his team is saying. Yeah. But in the court documents, they're not actually doing that. In the court documents, what they are trying to do is basically have the alleged victim be named. So they filed the motion to dismiss. It's in one motion. It's about 24 pages. The majority, 21 pages, are dedicated to basically saying, why should this person proceed anonymously? They're slandering me. I didn't do anything. They have no evidence, etc. There's only 4 paragraphs dedicated to the motion to dismiss. And even in those 4 paragraphs, they're still stating, well, we should dismiss the case because this specific district court is not allowed to hear cases from anonymous plaintiffs, which is not necessarily the fullness of the law, but they are very focused on the person being named. So more so than it getting dismissed, which is interesting. I think they will get named. Other clients of Buzbee's, similar tactics where he filed their claims under Jane and John Doe. The judge ordered like, hey, you need to name their names. And then he immediately named the names and then refiled with the names. So he doesn't seem opposed to putting their names after ordered to. I think it would be the same with this case. If ordered to give Jane Doe's name, he will refile with her name. None of his other clients have dropped the cases because they've had to go public with their name so far.
And a lot of people are wondering what is the court's justification for naming these folks that are in fear that they'll, be intimidated or threatened. Like, what is the justification for,
Yeah, so I agree. Basically, the way it works in the court, when you file anonymously, the judge weighs whether your anonymity and your protection is more important than the presumed innocence and the harm that might happen to the defendant. So they weigh that balance. So what Jay-Z and his team are arguing is, okay, you let her go forward anonymously. I don't even know who's suing me. And look at all this harm, social media, that's coming to me. And you know what? It's not outweighing that. Busby could argue, what harm has come to you? You're the one writing all these social media posts. You still, work for Rock Nation. That's your company. There's no problem. So they're going to go back and forth about whether or not his not knowing is more harmful or her being protected from the general public is more like whose harm is greater. Yeah. Eventually, I do think her name will likely come out from, I would say, like a moral personal view standpoint. Overwhelmingly, I don't think the public, me and you, need to know the names of the victim.
No.
The judge deciding that the defendant and their team know the name. Okay, I can see, that they need to dig for evidence, do discovery, etc. There's the potential that if, like, for example, Diddy has been alleged to have been participating in witness intimidation. If you're suing someone like Diddy, when the judge has ordered people to give their names, he has allegedly gone after his victims. So with that, did that outweigh the harm of them proceeding anonymously? No. Allegedly, Diddy, set Kid Cudi's car on fire. Like, these are things that once he was given a name, he allegedly went and did. So the judge has to weigh all of that. And that's basically like the legal standard.
What are your thoughts? And then we'll quickly move on to a Diddy update. But the retaliation, what Tony Busby is accusing Jay-Z of, bullying, shadowy operatives.
They're both shadowy operatives at this point.
But now there's a new lawsuit against Tony Busby. Well, there's a couple of lawsuits against, but the most recent one is an ex-lover that had an affair with him, is accusing him of giving her a venereal disease and then, messing with paperwork to kind of accuse her now ex-husband. She was married at the time. What's your legal perspective on what seems to be like this back and forth between Jay-Z and Tony Busby?
My legal perspective on their specific back and forth is it's a waste of the court's time.
Yeah.
It's let's get to the actual cases where people have been harmed. And the two of them consistently back and forth. Tony Busby is alleging in his newest suit that he has audio recordings of these shadowy operatives, etc. So we'll see if that is entered into evidence. Jay-Z is alleging Tony Busby is a shadowy operative, etc. The more they go back and forth, the more I question whether or not the back and forth is, in my opinion, some type of co-collusion.
Okay, please explain. You said this before we started. I need to know your perspective on this.
Because my perspective is always to believe the victims.
No.
Unfortunately, you're not going to find a perfect victim. That is the truth. Finding a perfect victim doesn't protect victims, because then we all have to live up to a standard that doesn't exist in life. Believe victims until proven otherwise. And currently right now, while there are inconsistencies, the current alleged victim, is stating like there are inconsistencies. However, I maintain that this one part is true. That's what they're stating. Okay, leave that over there. The back and forth that now seems to be a game between the lawyer and then Jay-Z, the accused, the defendant in this civil case, it seems a bit too unnecessary and a bit surprising. Like, how do the both of you have this much time in the day to be doing all of this?
I'm wondering myself. But I can say that about some other
the both of them. Yeah, it makes me question the both of them and what exactly is going on, because while you can pay a filing fee and file any lawsuit you want to, it doesn't mean it will actually go through the
How
court.
much is the filing fee? Like here in New York?
It's not that expensive.
Oh, I know people are going to be listening. I wonder how much that is.
Why civil lawsuit?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now.
In New York.
The filing fee is $350 plus $55. This is for district court.
Okay.
So the $55 is an administrative fee. So it's a total of $405.
Okay. Well, I mean, they got it.
So I'm like, so my question is, with Busby drafting his, complaint, somebody at his law firm, so now you're paying the lawyer to do the drafting, et cetera, et cetera. I just wonder how long this is going to go on before people even remember what they were actually even arguing about. Because now the back and forth, it doesn't even have anything to do with the underlying case.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. And I said this when covering the recent update in regards to Tony Buzbee's own lawsuit, is that Tony Buzbee benefits from this. You have Jay-Z, who never responds to anyone, responding on a almost daily basis.
Him responding is why I question him. Because I'm like, you never respond to anything. People have gone amnesia and they're like, he's never been accused of anything. I'm like, that's not true. And he just never responds.
Yeah.
And this is list of various things in general. Not anything of this nature. He's never been accused of anything of this specific nature, but other things, he just doesn't respond. Him responding is odd. And him responding in such like voiceful manner is uncharacteristic. Because this is also somebody with like a lot of media training. And then
Beyonce is the wife telling you don't say anything.
And the attorney must be telling him not to say anything, even though the attorney has some fumbles of his own by stating that they're not friends, Diddy and Jay-Z, which is laughable.
On these photos, multiple, and this is just a little bit of what I found, okay?
Because there's a lot. And then on Buzbee's end, like, as a lawyer, this doesn't make you look good that you've now taken the attention away from your client. The attention is onto you. That's nothing. If I was the client, I'd be like, I need a lawyer because you're over here having Twitter fingers with this, other person. What does that have to do with my case? However, it does, to your point, help with name recognition. Would this be the type of name recognition that somebody who took the time to go to law school and pass the bar should want? I don't think so. But not everybody is the same. Clearly, there is at least a level of chaos that Tony does participate in.
And look, as someone that has worked with thousands of attorneys, they vary.
Okay. There's levels of like, what is the saying? Some people say all press is good press. It seems like his level of veritol is participating in that.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Jay-Z and Tony Buzbee, guys, if you're just joining us, I'm here with Stephanie St. Aubyn from her YouTube channel, Allegedly Stephanie. Before we give the Diddy update, what's coming up for you that people should be on the lookout for?
Yes. So in the new year, we will be doing a new episode of Complexion of Law. I'm super excited. I got grant funding to do episode 2. We're going to be going down. Thank you. We're going to be going down to South Carolina and talking about Black land theft in South Carolina. So that will be coming out next year. We're going to do all the filming probably like earlier in the year. So that would be a big one. And then I would say we are going to finally figure out how to do the throwback lawsuit series on my channel, and then some updates as usual with pop culture lawsuits. So a little past and present.
And look, we have Diddy coming in May. So 2025 is going to be busy. And of course,
you and I might be at the courthouse for that.
Look, I'm ready. I hate that because, it's my birthday month and I try to go away and I'm like, I can't even go away this year, Diddy.
Oh, no.
All right. It's all right. I'll be here.
No. I was thinking of covering the Luigi Maggioni trial as well, because it will be in New York. And I think that one is going to be very interesting.
And based on people's reaction, you guys will let us know in the comment section if you want us to have Stephanie back to talk about Luigi and what's going on there, because it is a very fascinating case.
Mm-hmm.
But because Luigi's also in jail with Diddy, the Diddy update, because Diddy continues. Since the last time we collaborated, there have been multiple lawsuits filed by Tony Buzbee and other folks. Another lawsuit just came out. At this particular point, I think everyone is just sort of like, another one?
Yeah.
What is the Diddy update in regards to his federal case? I guess we should.
His bail will be getting denied until trial. That is the update. Because I think that was the last time we talked, he had tried the first set of bail and he tried it again and again. And now his lawyer has conceded that there's no point for them to keep filing his paperwork because he is not going to make bail and he should not be making bail.
And what was the court's justification at this third bail?
To be honest, I'd have to look and see. I believe the justification was that he's a danger to society. That's usually why you get denied.
Yeah. Well, and the witness tampering of it all.
Yes. And it had, yep.
Yeah. So
yes. Last month, finding by clear and convincing evidence that the hip-hop mogul is potentially dangerous and that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. Exactly. Because if they let him out, he's going to intimidate all those witnesses in person, which he's been trying to do through social media. He's going to pop up at people's door, most likely. So they're like, no, you could stay here in our facility.
You know, a lot of people, because, we just talked about President-elect Donald Trump possibly pardoning Mayor Eric Adams. A lot of people have said they feel as if Donald Trump would pardon Diddy. First of all, he hasn't been convicted yet. So can you pardon someone before being convicted?
No, they'd have to be convicted first.
Okay, just want to clarify. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's even possible? Let's say he is convicted next year. Do you think that Donald Trump, because yes, also very much like Jay-Z, and there's a long history of partying and fun times between Donald Trump and Diddy. Do you see that potentially happening?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, unfortunately, with Donald coming back January 20th, which is
you don't have to keep reminding us, okay, of the date, okay?
That's so you can get all of your joy beforehand and then get ready to fight back,
Yeah, I mean, technically, I'll be fighting back because I'm bringing the Kempire After Dark live show that same week in Washington, D.C.
Good for you, friend. You should stage a protest.
Power to the people. Okay.
There we go. Honestly, I don't put anything behind him, to be honest. It's possible.
If the price is right.
Anything with him is possible. It depends on, he's very temperamental. That's like who we're dealing with Donald. So if he feels like it, then sure. I would hope not, but also, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would hope.
Yeah, I think that we've gotten you like you don't even have the words.
I don't have the words. I would be flabbergasted. I think maybe the only thing that would maybe be like no is the fact that these are federal charges. The federal government is involved. The federal government has invested a lot of money into documenting the evidence, into going after Diddy, all of these things. Would it behoove Donald Trump, who is essentially, when you are, that big man in charge, the president, would it behoove you to undermine your own federal government? No. But has he undermined the government before? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a bit stumped. I hope not. I hope that's all I have. I hope not.
Stephanie.
Because that would just be a very wild waste of taxpayer money so immediately.
Yeah.
Just of like, wait, we just put all these resources into having this trial, proving this trial, getting justice for victims, showing that no one is above the law, even though Trump himself clearly is above the law since his cases are getting thrown out.
Yeah.
That would be such an obscene waste of taxpayer money.
But
Donald Trump loves to waste taxpayer money, so I don't put it past him.
Unless he's also on one of those freak-off tapes. But I don't even think, even if we saw a freak-off tape with Donald Trump, I don't think that would stop anyone from, that wouldn't stop. Have a good time.
Unfortunately, yeah. His supporters are unfazed. He even said that he could kill someone in the street and his supporters would still support him. He's on record stating that.
And still got elected. Okay. All right, look. I mean, okay. This wasn't on our list of things to talk about, but I wanted to know your thoughts legally on the TikTok ban that's also going to be happening next month. The Supreme Court did say that they would listen to oral arguments, 2 hours of oral arguments. What is your perspective on the TikTok ban, and just your perspective on it? Because I have my thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. One, it's not about privacy or our data, to be honest. And unfortunately, because Meta, they're doing
Google,
which thank you, Google, because Google kind of is our employer, but also no.
I forgot.
Because the foolishness that they do, the amount of times I've had to like raise concerns when I do like research projects with YouTube and with Google, I'm like, what are y'all doing with, like, we have thousands of hours uploaded on here. What are you doing with my data? What are you doing with the subscribers' data, etc.? And why I say it's not about privacy or the data, because the federal government has acted like it's about privacy, it's about the data.
Yep.
No.
Security.
It's not about security, because what they are saying now is, okay, well, we don't need to make changes to TikTok. We just need an American company to own TikTok.
No.
So if there's a security issue, that security issue would still exist with an American company owning TikTok. It just would mean America can use our data for whatever. So
it should also be noted that TikTok, the website, has beat out Google for the first time ever, multiple times, as the number one search engine.
That's frightening, because the information on there is less than kosher.
So that's just something people should keep in perspective, that Google benefits from TikTok being probably bought out by Google.
Yeah. Or at worst, bought out by Elon Musk, who's just buying social media companies to ruin them. So that would be fascinating. I did see, I think it was AP News, where they had these two strategists discussing like what might Donald Trump do, because essentially Donald Trump met with the CEO of TikTok, I believe earlier this month, to discuss the ban. And then also during his election, he also met with some executives from TikTok, which TikTok allowed rampant amounts of pro-Donald Trump disinformation to be allowed onto the platform in the hopes of being like, see, Donald, let's be friends. Let's keep it.
And also say that, he's reconsidering the ban, even though he initiated it. He's reconsidering because they kind of helped me win.
Exactly. So now he's reconsidering it. What the strategists were basically guesstimating was that he will let TikTok be banned for 1 day. So that way it's technically Joseph's fault, and be like, well, Joseph let it get banned. And just to bring it back online the next day and be like, see, I helped you, which is very egotistical Donald Trump playbook.
Yeah.
So I think that might happen. I don't think we're just poof, there's no TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't.
Here's my thing with TikTok, because it is scary that that the government would be this involved in something that is free speech for a lot of people. A lot of people benefit from being on TikTok. I am someone that, I don't know if I benefit, but I am on TikTok.
Like TikTok doesn't pay people, so
no. But here's the thing with TikTok, and anyone that's been a creator on TikTok will tell you, is that it's so interesting that they're being banned, because they've banned so many creators over for the silliest thing. Like all of a sudden you're banned because one person complained. Like there really is no really great system, happening over there at TikTok. Yeah. So part of me is sort of like, I hate this on one end, because it'd be monumental, be groundbreaking in regards to our free speech here in America. But at the same time, like, your business practices over the last how many years have not been great.
Agreed. Well, I'm not an avid TikTok user for that reason, to be honest. I'm like, what's the policy? There's no policy at TikTok. It's hard to get in touch with like an actual person. It just gives you AI. And I'm just like, oh no. But as somebody who also wasn't a user of Twitter whatsoever, Twitter was objectively, before it became X, a bastion of free speech. It also helped people organize, help people get informed about things. It also had a proliferation of problematic mess.
Yep.
So I think there are multiple things. The free speech aspect, to your point, is what TikTok and their executives, that's what they're arguing in court. Like, hey, this would be against not only TikTok's free speech, the free speech of all of these creators. This would be a violation of the First Amendment.
And a lot of small businesses that have been launched from being on TikTok, not just influencers. There are a lot of small businesses that are on TikTok. I mean, part of why I can't stand TikTok too. But then there's that. There's so much to talk about. everyone, make sure that you're following Allegedly Stephanie here on YouTube. I will be posting all of Stephanie St. Albin's information in the description. Again, Stephanie, thank you. So I love that, look, here on the channel, we talk about a lot of mess, okay? A lot of fun stuff, a lot of funny stuff, but I love that we can have these legal conversations and political conversations about what's going on, pop culture related, news related. I appreciate you taking the time out and being here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as always.
Of course. Guys, as always, don't forget, check out the description box for everything in regards to Stephanie, everything in regards to myself, and of course, the Kempire After Dark, a live tour information. Washington, D.C., yes, Inauguration Week. I'm there. Then New York City, Stephanie might be in the building.
Yes, I will definitely be there.
Okay. All right.
I'll be there
Stephanie will be there. There is also a live stream option for the Kempire After Dark New York City live show. All of that will be available in the description. And as always, we want to know your thoughts on everything that we covered, from Karen Huger to Jay-Z, to Diddy, and even Wendy Williams. And we promise in 2025, we will be doing just a Wendy Williams deep dive in regards to her guardianship. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe and like, comment, turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any of it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Podcast. As always, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for everything Kempire Radio, head on over to KempireRadio.com.